Hey everyone, it's Nerviews, and welcome to my review of the 2014 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. The 2014 TMNT movie follows Shredder and the Foot Clan's plans to take over the city, and Splinter, April, Vernon Fenwick, and the four TMNT brothers who are there to counter that plan. There are spoilers in this movie review, since I will be covering various characterizations and plot points I may have liked or disliked. There are also spoilers for TMNT 1987 TV series and Mutant Mayhem. Sorry, I forgot to mention it in the script. There also is a Channel 6 backstory that goes nowhere since it didn't seem that April needed Channel 6, and that story ended itself, and we ended up with Vern and April helping the Turtles. The Channel 6 backdrop was only there for the beginning of the movie and wasn't of importance to the story. You could have started with April being a freelancer and having mentioned that she did work at Channel 6, since it could have added more time to the movie to explore TMNT on second thought. This iteration borrows a lot from the 1987 TMNT TV series, from Channel 6 to some characterizations. I guess some Vernon Fenwick fans will like this movie, since Vernon here isn't depicted as much of a cowardly lion characterization in this movie, which I liked, in which he had some standing on his own moments throughout. April also had some standing on her own moments, but that was only towards the end of the movie. My same thoughts are with this April in the 1987 version, in which she mostly served as a damsel in distress for most of this movie, and wasn't the strongest April. There is a backstory of how April was connected to the Turtles, in which she was taking care of them in a lab, and then a fire broke out, and she had to rescue them. What doesn't make sense to me is if she was rescuing them, why did she leave them to go into the sewers? This is just the opposite of rescuing to me, and did not make sense. What also did not make sense is why they kept referring to the turtles as box turtles when the pre-mutated turtles shown on screen look more like red-eared sliders. The movie went into some dark territory with explaining how the toxin worked by one of the villains that was planning to release it on the city. So why does it look like they are playing it so safe with the turtles? If the cellular revivification of the mutagen wasn't explained, that would look like the turtles had plot armor and almost like Superman because they have bulletproof shells. There was one instance where a turtle mentions that their shell is cracked, which is consistent to the storyline compared to Mutant Mayhem's cracked shells that magically heal themselves later on in their movie. Mutant Mayhem had some creative ways of molding the turtles' heads and some other features, but not all of them had a lot of individuality to them. 2014's TMNT had solar panels attached to Donatello, sunglasses to Raph, Leo's bamboo chestplate for some reason, and clothes on each of them to add some individuality to each of them. I do like the individual features to each of the turtles because it made them stand out more other than their usual bandana colors. I am not brushed up on my Japanese history that much, but I believe they had suits of armor, and Leo has this bamboo chestplate thing that has holes in it. I am not sure of its effectiveness to being an armor plate, but props are trying, Leo. Leo's characterization and moments in the movie, I didn't have a problem with. Donatello's voice, characterizations, and moments in the movie were standout to his dorky laugh when he flipped the car in the hill chase scene, reaction to guns, and to mistaking the elevator. Raphael was another standout in the movie, to him being left and then tracking down his brothers to an admission at the end of the movie. Michelangelo was the most funny teenage aspect and another standout of the movie. There was a moment when three of them were hopped up on adrenaline and that was one of the funnier and standout moments of the movie. All four brothers were mutants in the movie, and that was a plot point in the end of the movie for milking mutagen from their blood because it is the antidote. If I had a nickel for the amount of times the turtles were milked of mutagen through their blood in the TMNT movies, I'd have 2 nickels. Splinter and the turtles learned Nujutsu through a book, and it was yet another montage of how they learned it for the sake of time, but I didn't have a problem with it since it basically explained how Splinter was taken down by Shredder. And again, they are turtles, yet more like red-eared sliders than the box turtles they were referred to in the movie. And what do you know, the movie and I covered TMNT, even though it wasn't perfect on the movie's part with the type of turtles they were. There are other aspects of TMNT other than the four brothers, Splinter and April, since another comic book character wasn't displayed as strongly as she was here compared to her other series and the comics. The character I am referring to is Karai, which she was a bit of a pushover in this movie, and even mentions that she wasn't prepared for the turtles. Shredder did mention that she was trained for this, yet she was acting more like a hired gun than Shredder's apprentice, and sometimes adopted daughter. The main big bad was Sex, since he was the one involved in the mutagen creation and the toxic chemicals. For a get rich from a tragedy scheme, this made sense and it didn't bother me. Shredder didn't play as much of a big role other than keeping the ninjas at bay and some cool magnetic armor pieces. Despite my preferred roles and interpretations of the characters, the movie itself had a very stale tone, despite some standout action sequences. 2014's TMNT did have some funny moments, individualistic turtle designs, standout moments and characterizations, but did have weaker characterizations, nonsensical and non-essential plot points, and a stale tone. The movie wasn't necessarily terrible, but it could have shaved more time off with summarizing the short-lived Channel 6 subplot to even exploring avenues with Shredder, Karai, April, and maybe even Vern if they didn't want to explore more Turtles' moments. But I'm not in the film industry, so this is just a suggestion. In short, it could have been better, but it wasn't. 2014's TMNT gets a pass with a score of a 50 out of 100. If you don't see more from this channel, just note that I have 3 other channels I make content for. Nerdware is also a product review and sometimes unboxing channel, which depending on the video, will or will not be scripted. One of my most recent videos is an unboxing and review of some 1987 TMNT Funko Pop Minis. That video is a bit of a mess, though that was my first unboxing and review video ever, without a script but a guideline. I am getting back into reviewing games on my Nerby Games channel, and do have a recent review of Shredder's Revenge, Just As It Is, and Not to Mention Shell Shock. More gaming related content that may or may not be scripted is planned for that channel. And last but not least is my Creative Creator Nerd channel. It is a mostly fun channel, and it does have a few more other TMNT related videos and a mix of scripted and unscripted content. Links to my other channels will be in the description. Thanks for staying to the end. A previous and recommended video or playlist will be on screen now. Links to my other channels and support pages will be in the description. And if it comes down to it, subscribe.